Hi everyone, I'm Nadia, and in today's video I'm going to be making a set of marble resin coasters as well as a marble love sign. I'm going to be testing out two different techniques to achieve this marble look, so if you're interested, stay tuned. After mixing my part A and my part B resin for about 3 minutes, I make sure that my molds are clean, so I'm wiping them down with an alcohol wipe. Alcohol wipes are great for cleaning your molds, but they might not pick up all of the small fibers, so I'm using some tape as well just to make sure that I get everything. Now I'm separating the resin into smaller cups to add the pigments. For the white, I'm using just Resin's titanium white, and I make sure to stir it well in the container before I take a small amount on my wooden stick to mix with my resin. And I mix a second cup of white pigmented resin to be able to try out the two different techniques. Now I'm adding my gold pigmented resin, and I'm using a small container that my mom gave to me, which is just Resin's bright gold. And I don't think that this is the best way to add in your gold. It is still a nice look, but personally not what I was going for, so I did end up using a gold marker, which you guys will see later. I decided to add some of the white pigments into this smaller cup where my black is going to be going to try and tone down the black. I'm using Resin Pro's Color Fun Deluxe, and I added 3 drops, which I think was a bit too much. For the love sign, I'm going to be trying a dirty pour technique with just the white and black, so I'm pouring a little bit of the black into my cup where my white pigmented resin is, and again, I think I poured too much of the black. This is my first time trying the marble effect, so I thought I would share my mistakes with you guys so that you don't make the same ones. Now I'm very lightly and very shortly mixing them together before I go and pour into the mold. So as you can tell already, there is a lot of black in there, and this is partially because all the black pigmented resin is at the top and the white has sunk to the bottom, but it's also because I added too much of the black pigmented resin, and I will be fixing that, so if you're interested in how, keep watching. Now I'm pouring what's left at the bottom of the cup, which is the white pigmented resin, and then I go through it with the wooden stick. I use a torch gun to pop any air bubbles, and when using a torch gun, make sure that you have it constantly moving so that you don't burn your resin or your silicone mold. Now I'm moving on to do the coasters. So for these, instead of mixing the black pigmented resin into the cup with my white, I'm going to be first pouring a white base. And here I'm just pouring some of the leftover that I had from the love sign. So now for this technique, I'm going to be dipping my wooden stick into my black pigmented resin and then dragging it in an X shape across my molds. This is a technique that I saw Devaney use on her YouTube video, so feel free to check that out as well. Now with my wooden stick, I'm softening that line and blending it out a bit. And Devaney uses a heat gun, so I'm trying that out as well, but again, I think I just added too much of the black pigmented resin for my taste, so I didn't really like how that came out, so with the wooden stick, I'm sort of just blending it all together. And again, I'm using the torch gun to pop any air bubbles. After some time has passed and the resin has become a little bit more thick, now I'm going to be adding the gold details. And I decided to add a gold metallic powder by Resin Pro in the shade Oro Rico, so I mixed that into my gold pigment that I mixed earlier. Then with the wooden stick, I dip it into the gold pigmented resin, and now I'm just randomly adding lines throughout the coasters and the love sign. Now I'm pretty much done, and I'm gonna allow this first layer to cure for 24 hours and come back to do a second layer. A day has passed, and this is the photo that I'm going to be adding into the heart of the love sign. I printed it just on normal paper, and now I'm going to be cutting it out into the shape of a heart. Now that I have it in the shape that I need, I'm going to be sealing it, and this step is very important. You can't forget this step when putting photos in resin, and I'm going to be using Art Podge, which is pretty much like Mod Podge. All it needs is 2 to 3 layers on each side, and make sure that you have gotten the edges as well so that the resin doesn't seep through there. I allow some time to pass so that it dries, and now I'm ready to mix up my part A and my part B resin. And here's where I decided to add more defined gold lines. I'm using this Edding gold marker, and I'll leave links in my description below where you can buy this on Amazon. And I'm just randomly drawing lines onto the coasters and the love sign. Then I'm separating my resin into smaller cups, and I'm going to have 1 cup of clear resin and 1 cup where I'm going to be adding some transparent white pigment to lighten the coasters and the love sign a bit, since I do think they are a bit too dark. I added a few drops of casting craft, and I mixed that together with my resin well. I start with pouring my clear resin into the love sign, and I use a torch gun to get rid of any air bubbles. And now I'm going to be adding my photo into the heart. I just gently plop the photo into the heart, and then I'm using my wooden stick to lightly push it down. I do this until the photo is completely covered with resin, and then I use the torch gun again because while pushing it down, it's caused air bubbles to be released, so I'm popping any of those. And here's where I take the white casting craft that I mixed earlier, and I'm just adding a little bit into the transparent resin. This really helps with lightening the love sign and getting rid of some of those dark spots, and it also gives it a really cool 3D effect. Then I pour the second layer of clear resin into the coaster molds. And I'm just pouring the transparent white pigmented resin into the molds with the clear resin and using a wooden stick to blend them together. And I added a few more drops of the casting craft to make the white a little bit more opaque. And I added that into the darker spots where I felt like it really needed to be lightened up. And here's a clip of me demolding the love sign and the coasters. Overall, I think I prefer the dirty pour technique to achieve a marble effect. As you guys know, throughout this video, I would have just added less black, and I think it would have came out perfect on the first pour, but this is a cool tip that you guys can use to fix up any pieces just by adding a second layer. I added a heat-resistant top coat onto the coasters as well as a gold trim, and here's the final product. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, subscribe to see more videos like this in the future. Follow me on my Instagram, Summer Girl Designs, and my mom's Instagram, Wild Heart Resin Art.